statement that, a cell phone doesn't have, there's a reason that I have a $300 EMF detector. And, I have these expensive thermometers and all the instruments that I have, that I have them separately. And the reason is because my phone is not capable of doing it. If it was, believe me, I'd rather spend a few $100 on my phone than several thousands that I have on equipment. Um,
Exactly.
and these people, they make these apps and they say, yeah, your phone's going to be an EMF detector and it's going to measure this and that. No, your phone, no cell phone maker has ever said, I bet that people would buy this if we put an EMF detector in their phone. No, can your phone detect it? Yes, within about 2 to 3 inches. And it's only sensitive enough to make the basic functions of your phone work, such as the touch screen to tell if you have it oriented for landscape or portrait mode, just the very basic. So this stuff that, yes, there is hardware in your phone that can do some of these things, but nothing like what these app makers claim. And then they put these apps out there that are designed literally to show you ads and trick you into thinking that you're talking with your grandma or somebody. Um, that's why they say for entertainment purposes only. Those. So how many hours do you want me to go on pet peeves?
Well, the equipment part, I definitely agree with. In fact, the only person that I have ever bought into relevant to apps is an app developer. His name is Rick White, and his company is Fuzzy White. He is, he's just the smartest and nicest and most genuine person. And he was
Mhm,
one of my first people to ever interview. I wish I had
mhm,
been better at it then. But he developed with Jason Hawes the TAPS app.
mhm,
And because we had kind of his daughter and I had just kind of developed a relationship through Twitter when we were talking about, because I'd reviewed the app and she found me on Twitter and stuff. And she is amazing in her own right. But
mhm,
he came on and I said, okay, I know that most of these apps do not appear to work, but I have gotten some really interesting results using the one you designed. Tell me why I should think that this one works better or works for
mhm.
real. And he did. He went into some really great detail, and I didn't have enough information in my own head to ask the right questions. I wish that I had had you guessing with me that night. But it was so awesome. It was just really an interesting thing, and he's the first person I ever had do that.
Mhm.
So that was
You
pretty
know,
awesome.
well, as far as apps go, I mean, now, granted, you know, I would say 99.999% of them are bogus or
Yes,
ineffective. Maybe
ineffective. Maybe they didn't mean
yeah,
for
yeah,
them to be bogus.
right. Maybe it was someone that had great intentions, but just didn't understand the limitations of the hardware they were trying to use. But that's like my phone. I've got a Galaxy Note 8, one of the most powerful phones on the market. So how is an app going to perform in mine versus a $99 phone somebody picked up in Walmart? There's so many things to be considered. Um, but maybe maybe they just didn't understand the limitations of the phone itself, or don't realize that the EMF. detection function that you can use with the phone is only good, or even the thermal and stuff is only good for a couple of inches. Um, so they might not have had deceit in their mind when they made it. It might have just been them not understanding the technology they were trying to employ. But there are some apps that are still usable on the on investigations. Um, I over the weekend you saw me using an app that to generate tones, specific frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
Although the app that I was using was one that was made for sound engineers to test their speakers. Had nothing paranormal related about it. Um, but and that kind of equipment's kind of the same way. People, not to say that everybody out there is trying to rip someone off, but maybe they don't understand themselves. Maybe they saw some TV shows and they know a little bit about electronics and they think, well, I heard this guy on the Ghost Show talking about how this is supposed to amplify ghost activity. So I'm going to build this circuit and sell it. So is it, he's not trying to be deceitful, but, maybe he's never done the research for himself to see the case studies or to understand the principles that he's trying to use. Science is just like anything else. You can pull a phrase here or there and make almost anything seem to work for you given the right statements. But if you don't read all the way, you got to read the whole paragraph.
You do. You can't just skim.
Mm-hmm.
That's awful.
Yes. That so Wilson, that kind of goes back though to how we were talking about the paranormal isn't in the normal process, but it's the glitches from it. And most of the equipment that we've seen used in the paranormal isn't, is something that people noticed that as a glitch, that it would do this when there was activity going on. So what they did was they tried to modify regular equipment to work specifically for the glitch. So it is very much an unknown science. That's why I say one of the best pieces of equipment you could take, and this is somebody that you know how much equipment I've got. I mean,
not enough.
I've got, yes, that I've accumulated a lot.
A little. You got a little.
Yeah, but one of the handiest things that will give you more information than any piece of equipment I have is just a well-kept journal that's written down in a 99-cent notebook.
I was muted. I'm sorry. I don't know what I hit on that. But one of my favorite things, and David, my husband, laughs at me, is that at any given moment, I have several different notebooks going. I have my show notes, for the pre-show when I'm doing my research that I gather. I have scheduled guests and their backgrounds in another. I have story ideas for some articles that I'm writing. I have everything. And I also have a notebook. The person who actually beat you out for the claim of who gave me the most pages of notes while I was interviewing them was Dave Considine.
Right.
I started,
and that is very understandable, knowing Dave. because I've talked to Dave enough that,
I
gosh,
had
that man's he's a walking encyclopedia.
He is. I had 6 pages back and front, so 12 pages of notes from one interview. And this was
Hmm.
an interview that I spent the entire time when he was describing some of the experiences, because I'd never spoken to someone who does what he does. And I was astounded, and I sounded like the biggest goober through the whole interview because I was like, oh my God, get out of town. No way. Oh, there's no way. A 2-year-old did what? I mean, I was stunned and taken aback. And he is a fantastic person because he didn't get frustrated with me. He understood. And, he knew that I was hearing things I'd never heard before. So it was all good. But oh my God, if you don't have notes, you don't have anything. You have to have your notebook. And when you're on a location site, I record what the client is telling me. I'm recording from the time I go in the door, and hopefully I remember to stop and restart so I don't fall asleep during my reviews that last 3.5 hours. But, right? I mean, we've all been there.
Oh, yeah.
But, I find that I have a notebook to, keep up as we're going, but I also need that recording so that I don't miss something. I also get a lot of EVPs when I'm doing that because they like to be spirits like to be part of the communications. But I get just, when you were talking about a good camera, I wanted to interject there because I have so many video cameras. My favorites are the 2 that you made that my kids got me. And then I love my old school Sony Handycam. One of them makes a noise, so I have to be careful with that. It doesn't do it all the time. It's just but it is space, so you know what it is. But yes. I actually had a Nikon D90 that I had just set to video record while we were in a home doing a residential, and I set it on the kitchen counter. And everyone who was investigating in the family were all in a room that I had set the camera to face toward. And you could have knocked me over, so I didn't really expect anything. My camera caught an EVP that was a Class A EVP. And I was just like, oh, my Nikon? Really? Well, yeah, it really did. So I thought that was interesting. I love when strange things happen like that. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, when we were investigating the Villisca Axe murder house, we actually had one of our cameras set up in the kitchen, and for no apparent reason, it spins completely around instead of facing into the living room from the kitchen counter. No, it just spins around and is facing the wall.
How bizarre. I love that. You have some of the most strange things happen on your investigations. And I just find that interesting.
You're
not
that
ahead. Guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you're really not that guy. You are not somebody that you would expect to be having such bizarre things happen around them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like they're accepting the challenge.
Yeah.
Genuinely. That's what it seems like. From this side, anyway.
Right. That, probably so. So I have had some, and for some reason they like to mess with my equipment. When we did the Pickens County Courthouse back in March,
right?
We actually